Love, and how love is related to awareness. Because usually I talk about awareness, but they're really not two different things. So the title of the talk tonight is What's Love Got to Do with It? When we talk about awareness, that's a term, right? It's a concept. The word, any word, all words are concepts. And the value of this particular term is that it points towards something that's real, that exists, right? Concept in itself has um, might have value, but the value is only to the degree that it points towards something real, right, in a meaningful way. So we could use lots of other terms. Sometimes, like a term like awareness, it can sound abstract for some people. It may not resonate. So there's lots of other terms that we could use. I mean, we could use spaciousness. We could use the eternal. We could use spirit. We could use Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, the Tao, the now. Lots of terms, right? So pick a term, whatever term resonates for you. Its value, again, is just to the degree that it points towards something real. So if it has that effect for you and sort of, something that resonates and brings you to a recognition of this um, capacity that we all have, that I often call awareness or consciousness, um, then that's the usefulness of it. Once we recognize that capacity in ourselves and that recognition, you could say, stabilizes, then we don't need to hang on to the term, right? We don't need the term to remind us what that capacity is, because it couldn't be more obvious, right? But for a while, that term, any term that works for you, might be helpful to bring us back towards that recognition. So if the word awareness feels abstract to you, pick another one. Whatever works for you is fine. But at the end of the day, it's not. We shouldn't be spending our time and energy sort of finding hair-splitting differences between this term and that term. All terms, at best, are references in the direction of something beyond concepts. So once we discover that for ourselves, the term actually doesn't mean much anymore. It's not required. Okay, so one of the reasons that I use awareness is that if we get what that is, and we understand that it is what notices whatever arises, whatever experience is happening. If we truly understand that, then we're much less likely to get seduced by the experience itself, believing that somehow the ultimate truth lies in the next experience. No, it lies in what we truly are, which is that capacity to experience whatever, everything. The other reason that I like that term, um, in a way, it's similar to what Eckhart Tolle used when he used the term now, the now, right, the power of now, because the term itself is non-cultural and it's non-religious, right? It's just the now, right? So we can sense into that. It's a slightly different direction, pointing at the same underlying reality. Okay, so in the same way, the word awareness is non-cultural, non-religious. It's just awareness. It's not unique to any culture. It's not unique to any um, tradition. It's just awareness, right? Something that's already present for all of us. The other thing I like about it is that it's a little less grandiose than, say, cosmic consciousness, right? And it's less cultural than, for example, Buddha nature. All of these terms are pointing to the same thing, but I like sort of the ordinariness of it, the accessibility of it. That's another term that you could use. I don't typically start with that term because it's so fraught with you know various meanings that people have associated with the term, and it can be confusing when we are trying to be loving, as a spiritual practice. In order to feel like I'm a good person, I'm going to try to be more loving. That's what I should do. So it can come with a flavor that awareness doesn't have. There's some things that we can say about awareness. We can't say much, but there's some things that we could say. Not exactly the quality of awareness, but it's sort of the sense of it. Okay, so one of them is this: awareness is non-judgmental. It's not sitting back and being critical of whatever our mind happens to be thinking, second guessing us. It's not that. It's what is present for and aware of whatever mental activities are happening. So it's not judgmental. It's not like this concept of a higher self that's sort of holding us to a tougher standard, being critical, being the parent in the room. It's not that at all. It's just being aware in a non-judgmental way, right? The other aspect to it is that it's always present. Our attention may be directed elsewhere. We may be fascinated by whatever's happening out in the field of vision there somewhere, whatever sensory experience, whatever visual experience. Maybe we're listening to music, our attention is outward, but that awareness is aware of what experience is. And sometimes we come back to that recognition, like, oh, that awareness is present. We come back to itself, and we can notice, yes, it's still present. So sometimes the attention is outward, sometimes it comes back to itself. Either way, the awareness is still present. The other thing about awareness is that it's not holding opinions, beliefs, and ideas. I read somewhere the other day that typically the human mind thinks something like 60,000 thoughts a day. And then the next day, it also thinks 60,000 thoughts, but they're the same thoughts that we thought the day before. It's a very repetitive kind of process that goes on, not when we're actively engaged and focused on a certain task, but the rest of the time when the mind is sort of running on, it tends to be quite repetitive, tends to see things from the same perspective, um, functioning from the same opinions, ideas. So this is all mind activity, but the awareness itself is what is present for whatever that activity is, but in itself isn't holding opinions, ideas, beliefs. That's not where they reside. Awareness is also a listener in a passive kind of way, like it's not um, demanding that only this particular input happen. The mind, of course, prefers this input over that input, sure. But the awareness itself will receive whatever happens to be showing up in the field of vision, you know? Now, if I wake up in the morning and, I look all beat up and I go into the bathroom and look in the mirror's not judging that. It doesn't not holding me to a certain standard. It's not preferring the image yesterday to the image this morning. It's not doing any of that. It's just receiving whatever's present for. And that way, the awareness is similar. This awareness is not um, is steadfast, right? It's not, a fickle friend. It's not here when it likes what's going on and heads out the door when it doesn't like what's happening. It's there for whatever this organism is experiencing, pleasant, unpleasant, ugly, terrifying, beautiful, joyful, sad, whatever's happening, this is present for that. Given this nature of awareness, what would it look like to have a friend that was unconditionally loving towards us? What would, what would be the characteristics of that? And, we could say, well, it'd be wonderful to have someone who is sort of always available, you know, whenever I needed to turn to something, the person would be there. That the person would be non-judgmental of me, not nitpicking me, not demanding that I be a certain way in order for them to remain friends, not trying to manipulate me, just allowing me to be as I am. And yet at the same time, you know, being honest enough that um, not just a yes sayer to whatever silly ideas I might have, to be a accurate mirror to where I was being that day. Someone that wasn't out the door if they didn't like my behavior in that moment or didn't like my opinion in that moment. Someone who's there through thick and thin, always there, not holding a grudge in any way. Right? I mean, that'd be nice. All of that. You could say, if someone, a friend showed up with, that whole package of qualities. I mean, you could say that this person was mm, unconditionally loving. If you've ever had a person or a parent or um, maybe even a dog, that was unconditionally loving in that regard, it feels good. It feels really good. And we might imagine this is what I would like to feel as love from the divine, right? God's love, that sense of complete acceptance, not judgmental, not conditional love, but unconditional love, right? We can also ask whether these same attributes are not true of awareness, allowing everything to be as it is, non-judgmental, always present, not holding a grudge, not holding opinions, not trying to manipulate. Same. So what we're talking about here, when we're talking about love, we're not talking about passion. We're not talking about hormonal surges. We're not talking about even whether we necessarily even like the person or agree with the person. We're talking about something, not this hot aspect of love. We're talking about something much more subtle, much, you could say, more cool, that is available, but not needy, not grasping, not pushing away, just present for, yet totally available. Right? So that movement is awareness moves in the world. Love is how awareness moves in the world. That's what it feels like. It's not moving from intention, like I'm intending to be loving. Right? It's that movement. It's an outpouring. It's just the nature of awareness when we recognize that in ourselves and move from that in our day-to-day activities. It feels like there's this outpouring, and this outpouring is an expression of awareness. That love is an expression of awareness, therefore not other than awareness. It's how that understanding, that deep understanding, um, moves in the world. There would be no reason for it to move otherwise. It's sort of the nature of it, sort of like the nature of the sun is to warm our face when we're standing out in the sun. Not like the sun is trying to warm our face or has the intention of warming our face. It's just the nature of it has that effect. Where the sun isn't trying to melt the frost in the morning. It's just the nature of it. It's just the outpouring of it, and that's what the effect of it is. So we can look at the effect of it and say, "Oh, that sun on my face feels good. It feels like love," right? But it's not the in it's not doing it out of a trying to do it. It's flowing from a beingness. It's not that we're um, doing love. It's that we're being resting in our own center, and how that feels to ourselves and maybe to others is an outpouring of open-heartedness. Right? So it's not something that we do. And I understand there's spiritual practices that emphasize loving kindness. Beautiful, right? It gets us prepared to see the challenges of that when we try to do that from the perspective of this, separate self, the me, the egoic self trying to be loving, trying to love my neighbor. And we can see the limitation of that, right? We can try, that's good, but the challenge comes up when we run into somebody that we actually don't like or we don't agree with, or is behaving in a way that I think is crazy or evil or deluded. Then I get confused about this. How do I love that? I'll try really, really hard, but I know deep down that I don't actually believe it, because from a separate self egoic standpoint, what we see as differences, like what we're seeing, what we're interacting with, no problem, right? But when we don't, and we get all sort of twisted up trying to figure out, well, I'm trying to be spiritual. I know I'm a spiritual person, so I should really love this person or this act or this situation. But I really don't, you know. But we can see at that level of, our conditioned separate self, we have conditioning. We like this and we don't like that so much. But if we can step back into this awareness, recognize it as it exists already in all of us, we can really explore that. When we first discovered it, it can feel quite personal. Oh, like I've finally discovered awareness. Here it is, and it's me, my discovery, and it feels local. We can really explore that to see if that's actually true. I mean, that's it in itself as an accomplishment to recognize that. It's a significant step to know that, at least me as a separate self isn't limited to, just this conditioned package, that I'm actually fundamentally free of that, because awareness itself is free of this conditioned package. It's what notices the conditioned package. They're free of it. You could say upstream of it, prior to, more fundamental than the conditioning. So at first it can seem very personal, liberating, but it can still feel like, this is something I've discovered, in my own experience, this awareness. But after a while, may begin to wonder, like, when I look around, it looks like other people are aware also. So if they're aware also, and I've recognized that what I fundamentally am is this awareness, are not the other people fundamentally also? We can wonder, well, is there sort of multiple awarenesses, one here, one over there, 8 billion of them running around on the planet, plus all the animals and trees and everybody else? Even conceptual investigation of that, you know, if this awareness is separate from the awareness in the other person over there, where exactly is the boundary? Is there a limit to the awareness here? Seems like wherever I look, it's all happening within awareness. And I have to presume that the same is true for the other person. So where's the boundary? And the other question is, how is it different? Is this awareness different than that awareness, your awareness? Body mind is experiencing is different than what everybody else is experiencing. Everybody has their own unique experience, internal, external. Okay, but is the awareness different? The sort of clarity, the singularity of this awareness, this formlessness of awareness. If it's formless, how can it be different from anything else? If everything appears within this awareness, how can it be exclusive? And into that, we can see that the awareness that can be recognized here is other than the awareness that appears there in all people, in all beings, really. Same awareness, one awareness. Conditioning is different. Conditioning is personal, individual. The awareness is living through and as all of these forms, all of these life forms. So from the perspective of awareness, there's unity everywhere we look. If we look at it from the conditioned self, me looking at my neighbor and deciding whether I can love my neighbor or not, from the conditioned self, difficult. We like our neighbor, sure, but otherwise we don't do that. But where we can recognize is that our neighbor is ourself. Now, how do we act? If there's no distinction at the level of our fundamental existence. It's not two separate awarenesses trying to relate to each other. It's the recognition of the one fundamental thing that we are, this formless spirit, this formless consciousness. Now, how do we relate? We can see from the perspective of this awareness that, um, we mentioned before, is its nature is non-judgmental, non-judgmental towards ourselves, also non-judgmental towards the other person. If it's non-judgmental in the first place, so nothing to forgive. Forgiveness only becomes necessary if we blame or judge in the first place, and then we can be forgiving at a later time. But if there's no judging or blaming or assigning right and wrong in the first place, the whole concept of forgiveness drops away as well. It's just meeting whatever shows up, um, from that spaciousness of allowing everything to be as it is, not allowing everything to be as it is because it's a good thing or a spiritual thing to do, but because awareness is already doing that naturally, innately. That's what it that's what it does. It's not trying to allow everything to be as it is. So again, there can be a spiritual practice to allow whatever arises, to recognize, well, that's the way it is. That's true. That's useful. And I would suggest its usefulness is to see how this individual separate self resists that. Mhm. Because we can see that that resistance is what we're holding on to, um, as a belief, as an idea of, I know how this should be. There's how things are, and then there's how I think that they should be. And that holding on to how they should be is our resistance. It's actually what holds this sense of separate self in place, sense of resistance to what's arising. We're just allowing everything to be as it is, which is what awareness is doing. There's not much for the internal manager to do. We've sort of taken away its job description. So we can look at this, conditioned body mind, everything that we learned in this lifetime up till the present moment, all the different ways that we were programmed inadvertently, taking on certain patterns that we didn't even know we were taking on or why. And then, if we're lucky, at some later point in life, we recognize the degree to which these patterns are affecting our behavior, our thought patterns. If that was the entire package, the entirety of what we are, this thoroughly conditioned form, this organism, if that's all there was, there'd be no way out, right? What would be the relief from that? I mean, we've all tried to, fix our conditioning, improve it somewhat. Sort of one thought arguing with another thought, one thought saying how we should be, another thought saying, yes, but this is how I am. And if we were faced with a judgmental God and that was the extent of who we were, that would be sort of like a bad joke. Fortunately, fortunately, there's a way out. The way out is being willing to observe this conditioning, whatever it is that's operating. We can see the patterns, we can see the consequences of acting sort of mindlessly out of those patterns, consequences to ourselves and to other people. Um, and if we are always trying to fight with that or deny it or improve it or blame other people or decide what's right and wrong, then we're thoroughly engaged in that, which holds it in place. That's bondage. The alternative is just to observe it unjudgmentally. The more clearly we see those patterns, the less of a grip that it has on us. And that's the freedom. And where we can do that from is awareness. Hopefully we can see that someone else's conditioning has flavored their behavior, their thought patterns, their beliefs, in ways that we might not agree with. But they took on their conditioning in the same innocent way that we took on ours. There's no blame here. No blame, no shame. It's just what happened. And that understanding, seeing the degree to which our own body mind is conditioned and recognizing a similar, perhaps even a heavier handed conditioning operating in another body mind over there. Just seeing that is the basis for compassion. It's not who we are. Recognizing the awareness that can has the capacity to notice the conditioning without judgment um, gives us the doorway to see it operating in ourself, operating in the other person, knowing all the while that what we truly are and what the other person truly is this undifferentiated awareness. And that recognition, moving from that recognition, feels like love. So this love that we're talking about isn't um, doesn't mean we have to like the other person. From the conditioned self, we may still disagree with them. We may still not want to hang around them. Um, on that level, yeah, we may not like the other person. However, from what we truly know that we are, we recognize that there is utterly no separation. And so even though we might not like the person, we might not agree with them, we might not want to be around them, but we don't go the next step to say they're wrong. I'm right, they're wrong. That belief in our own centeredness is what maintains the separation. But if we can really step back into what we truly are, how that awareness moves in the world, it's an outpouring. It's a recognition of what we truly are and how that moves, how that relates to the other person. And it doesn't have to be spoken about. Not something that we're doing to, make sure the other person knows that we're, a good spiritual person. You could say an attitude, except it's not something that's practiced, or it's not even a doing. It's just our nature. When we get down to the essentials of what we truly are, it's that nature to be open-hearted, to be compassionate, um, to be willing to listen, to be willing to be present for, to be non-judgmental of all of these things that, can be spoken about as spiritual virtues, but they're not being done from with that purpose in mind. It's just nature of how this moves when it's moving from a place of a recognition of what we truly are. No agenda, no judgment, not assigning right and wrong. And it can sound, when we talk about it in that way, it can sound disempowering, like, well, if I don't have preferences, and that if I allow everything to be as it is, well, then everything's just going to be as it is, nothing will change. But it doesn't actually mean that. It means that we're freed from expending our energy, blaming, deciding who's right and who's wrong, working out in our own head who should have done what or who shouldn't have said this. All of that wastage of energy is just eliminated. It's just like, okay, this is what's happening, allowing everything to be as it is, right? This is what's happening. What is the appropriate role in this circumstance for the highest and best good of all involved? It's not actually necessary to decide who's right and who's wrong. It's just like what's needed. Maybe what's needed is just to be quiet. It's what they teach you in, I think, first year of medical school. First, do no harm. It's a good place to start, and then see if there's anything that can be contributed for the overall benefit of whatever situation we happen to be in. Maybe it's not to our personal advantage. Okay, that movement feels like love.